He seems the kind of person who revels in it, figures that it'll find him on its own even when he's not asking for it. Oh yeah, this happened. Hello, welcome back to the letter. We're gonna get right back into it. No messing around, right back into it. See if this will be another hour-long video. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Good morning, there's only a hush, a strange sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting me every morn. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day less pleasant, but the edge is there. And as expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of two squabbling adults echoing from a floor below. Quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wasn't. Ow! Could you let go?
A few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood as she attempts to pry his hand off with her other one, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. Either of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that, at least. However, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice when she answers Ashton's temper with her own. So on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
You have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean—
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will—
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both their heads snap up almost in unison, displeased frown on each of their faces, but this is a necessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak open their doors, if only slightly. If they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen first thing on a Friday morning, even if this is hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and—
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing.
Your precious team
Oh.
is looking at it the wrong way.
I accidentally skipped some of that, sorry.
Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
Last bit strikes a chord, prods and strongly out of memory. The vicious smile already etched deep in my mind. The image appears clear enough that at the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not—
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse.
It affects all the other people differently, it seems.
There's a murderer on the loose, and your co-workers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
I wasn't chasing after—
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat I'd agree with Ashton. That's how it has always been, besides having a good point. They're the very same ones who make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been sensing these past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is at the heart of this. But, however, I respond to the question in their faces, only one of them will be pleased with it. Yeah, I'm gotta go with, yeah, I kinda have to. Ashton in particular won't be happy to hear this. And I guess Ashton went down, Isabella went up. Isabella went up, Ashton went down. Kinda, yeah, that's what I figured. Imagining the look on his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows, shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gleaming a sharp edge. Started bracing himself from the disappointment. And it will be a disappointment. Not in a million years that I ever believe I'll be saying this either.
I might have seen her. The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head, and for a few moments Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads at its heels after a silence thick enough one can almost hear a pin drop.
You're kidding, right?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter. Last night, you mentioned Zach hasn't been acting like himself. Maybe you should ask him, too.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Isabella's voice cut sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. Before
Oh, shit. Sorry. She breathes in deep, steady, and in a moment something falls behind her eyes as she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
Quiet resolve, the same one I saw in her that night from 3 days ago. But this time it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight when she looks him straight in the eyes, gaze unflinching gradually, his grip on her wrist loosens.
Hell, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us, a hush descending as if the world was waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand on top of his, gentle, pleading, almost intimate if one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit it even to himself, but it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eyes soften, and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Closely, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose and gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave, and my own instinct takes over. Race for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by voices whispering at the back of my mind. He already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. He knows where all this will take us, how all this will end. He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust, granted implicitly and never spoken. Sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a moment as he turns it over in his mind, and the only manages to offer us a small nod before he departs and a promise to at least listen to her without the teasing or the jibes. A favor for me and the least he could do for her. Is as much as I can do for him as well until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully, where this all started will provide the answers I'm looking for. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this measure becomes the least of my concerns. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out to their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. The once woman standing in the front porch speaks their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Mrs. Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. That's despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her husband beside her, a trait worthy of utmost admiration at least. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip and looks for.
Welcome everyone.
And Mom said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guests she has, though I admit she does seem familiar now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my taste, they float briefly in my mind, until a cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please make yourselves at home.
I wish I could share her enthusiasm really, but being surrounded by all this extravagance, for lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. Also knowing where there might be some truth to what lies inside the place helps drive the unease further by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand,
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
for someone who abhors gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air to a lackadaisical as he watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
My disdain has likely shown beyond the tone of my voice, quite possibly in the form of grimace. He chuckles over a moment where mirth and amusement dance across his features. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, can't help but join him instead. There's something in the lightness of it and how easy this kind of interaction falls into place when we don't let feelings get too involved, despite being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. However, the moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
An odd expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks it away before he can figure out what it is exactly.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way, and he answers instead that folks at some point in the crowd. His gaze darting between people walking past us until a small frown forms on his face.
Oh wait, Ash! What about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? Before I can ask already, he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure, his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long, just a simple hello reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already heading inside. Of the cyanide and admittedly a little disappointment, I took my mobile back in my pocket and followed after him.
So much for a date.
Even with familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. Ah yes, back to the party. The party hits full swing an hour later, with the host's opening remarks given still in honor of her husband, the poor woman, and the guests promptly fed. The band shifts the melody to a livelier tune. Soon after, and the rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting streams of music. It seems fun, I admit, fascinating at certain moments, The flurry of dancers making the music their own, almost with no care in the world. I've had everyone so indisposed I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitation anyway. Plenty of them, in fact, with some asking more than once. If only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. I can. A single nod is all it'll take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride in my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that as much as I hate to admit it. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention or a single glance at me the whole evening. Well, hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's basically covering the event to boot. But at least he may just slip in a conversation or two between takes, and a small wave of his hand when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? We've been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, and another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand. Next thing I know, he's gone. But to know him better, I'd say he'd only agree to come with me for another reason.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Oh, I remember this. Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom in my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taken notice of my discomfiture, then she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Only a bit too friendly for my liking, but I guess it comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, needy people, though I suppose that nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like little Becky throughout the years. I've already forgotten about me and my parents. People like her thrive on connections after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenu, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about, until Ashton walks by again, in closer proximity than any of the times he's done so far this evening. So, with a look of acknowledgement on our way, though, even if Miss Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down his offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend, then? Because that would explain those rejections.
It's more about wanting him to be. This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My coworkers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those. He's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. Still, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks to denial rate, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face before her good cheer easily
That's
falters.
right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
Probably both.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I've mentioned who my parents are, her face quickly lightens up, and fondness graces her face despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things you really can't avoid talking about. After all, it's one of those very few things I remember her asking me the moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about children when there are those we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you. You were the cutest little thing with glasses. And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me, chosen also so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock, and that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen, he's a detective for heaven's sake, but feelings more often than not escape him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all more embarrassing. And the more nature that talks, the more my discomfort grows, until my smile turns into a grimace. What would she think of me? If she is married to a man she most probably loves at that. And I'm just stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know?
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
Sorry if I keep cutting it off. She says that before a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I already even sorted these things out for myself.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Though, to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Anna is fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy, that's what this is. How dare I pressure out something when it's exactly what I've been doing. And then I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That by virtue of us growing up together, he must turn whatever I feel for him, that he's not allowed to look at another because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. And in the first possession has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it until the time comes I can confess it to him. Great, if he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish, I've been too selfish.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to it. However, the past weeks have also seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, it turns out whatever I previously knew may not even be true for other people or for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before now has doubts muddying each of them. But there will be a time to mull about these later, because when hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue appears. Especially when Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late, oozing with the same pompous mane he always carried around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone.
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. Oh, fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and the gossip columns have never been really my thing. Should have also expected that wherever Luke fucking Wright is some sort of drama will sure to follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it, figures it'll find him on its own even when he's not asking for it. Oh yeah, this happened. It happens amidst a round of applause and hoots that people lagging behind the crowds they've gathered does not catch on until the cheers turn to several scandalous gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility.
I remember this.
God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me.
Oh, it's fun reliving this.
I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion does no further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, the security shows up, escorting her out, apparently. She's the chief inspector's wife, too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions, this will bring more. I'm more worried about Hannah. Maybe Luke, too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him, no matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hannah, well, as refined as woman as she is in front of their guests, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over. Yet when I glance at her, there's only defeat, a weary slump on her shoulders, and a certain depth to her breathing. I think the fight has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since when this has been going on. I don't know either of them well to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection to both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite, it's all too easy to see it in her as she quietly watches the commotion carry on around her. In a moment, before I can think it through, I'm pulling her to the side and waving Zachary over.
Becca! This is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hannah. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, this air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hannah. Her standing in social society compels her to keep appearances, the be nice to everyone sort of thing. Most hackers are in client base, and sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Although, from the way it appears, this one seems to go beyond maintaining a facade for work. Wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd ask, but we're starting to attract some curious eyes. Most of them are probably searching for more gossip, something to add fuel to the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain to Zachary. He's aware of the situation all too well.
So, this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hannah out of here?
That'd be great.
Soon, he's leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Aaron, who dares speak or approach on our way, shut down with a sharp glare. And we're back here. In a few steps, we're out, away from the commotion and the suffocating tension. I don't stay long with them, though. Even if I want to, Ashton's still somewhere in that crowd. I've got to go back for him, at least. No matter how much the idea of that alone sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
It seems Zachary can handle those without another person helping out. Back for some reason, I get the strange impression that I might be intruding on something if I elect to remain. Better to entrust this with someone she's comfortable with. And though it might be a little inappropriate to consider what has transpired, a smile worms its way to my lips as I leave. Good on them, I suppose. Cheddar has exploded through the whole ballroom once I return. Worried murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't left the premise, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet, tabloid, and Luxburn. I wonder if Luke's knee deep into damage control. With that scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention on the media covering the event. Though so far he's not faring well in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
I think Zachary isn't here. I can't imagine a man of his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Damn. The diatribe goes on for a few minutes, after which he excuses himself out the area. There's a brief lull or a reluctant pause before the place comes astir again, but shortly the buzz returns. Dancers have once again taken to the floor, and their guests' excited talk begins anew. I've gone careless about any of this now. Simply standing in the middle of it already gives me a headache. When the shock is faded, I just feel bone tired. I've accomplished nothing with what I've come here for. Rally actions disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm sure what pisses me off more, that he ignored me the whole evening, and might have just left without saying anything, or knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. If he at least trusts his own friends for that.
You didn't have to lie to me.
It's the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, Ramos is held standing alone in the fire with one Luke Wright. No sign of Hannah or Zach. And just him and his agitated click, and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he treads around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much his scandal has him shaken. Not to the point where he has utterly lost composure. He appears to have mastered himself not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Surely I've seen this before, briefly, that in that 1 second in the hallway at school. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'd be acting like this, as pride is one thing he'll always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders, and he whirls around to face me, there's a second long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves to confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd banner off Luxborn if I could.
He probably pawns everything off to their servants and Hannah. Pompous elitist douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. And some pleasant and frustrating talks with this man, as he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. The question and criticisms aren't lacking, of course. Ooh, boy. Right, since there's only one thing that comes to my mind. Here we go. If I say you should be with your wife, that's going to lead him to go toward where Zachary is. Zach's already gone, but it might lead to a misunderstanding with Zach and his wife. And I'm kind of curious if it's true.
Is there some truth to it then?
I'm curious. Even if I know things with Lucas can go down, but I'm just curious if any truth to it. To his credit, he does appear extremely offended and repulsed by the notion. His mortified expression alone answers the question, but I want to hear it from him. Even if he takes nothing short of a derisive tone, just answer that.
Daisy? Oh, Daisy. If you believed every scandal that came along, I'd have 100 children already. Do me a favor and give me a break. I get enough of this false shite from the tabloids.
Well, I'm sorry for asking. I just wanted to hear it from you, douche.
And now that you've heard it, does it change anything? Are we going to start seeing miracles now? A solution to poverty? Pigs flying in the sky!
Is some friendly concern such a hard thing to comprehend for you?
He pauses at that. Suddenly he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end he simply stuffs them back into his pockets and sulks. I'm not too shocked it has caught him off guard. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with, and Zachary probably won't want to be anywhere near him, despite the man having the patience of a saint. Ashton he can tolerate maybe, though I highly doubt he can keep it up with Luke. Dealing with him requires more patience. It's a huge mystery why I still bother. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away.
Maybe. I don't need your stupid friendship.
Good heavens! I really want to ask how Hana's able to deal with you.
He's interested, I can tell from the frown he shoots my way. He's likely wondering how I've ended up knowing her. I'd humor him any other day, probably tease him about it and keep him guessing just to annoy him if I'm in a good mood. But my own patience is nearing its end. After Ashton, the whole fiasco here, and now him. He won't even answer my own questions properly. Why should I answer his? Moreover, there are other matters more important than that. His marital problems, first and foremost, his attitude followed right after. Those on his side, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix. It's definitely not by standing around here. So with a slight wave of my hand, I end up right there and walk away from him. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. For the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh. Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Like the first time I stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCullough, and that shadow. No, a woman now. Her, no longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. Crippling sensation gripping every part of me while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I have unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something. A warning. Before I can gather my wits and voice, someone shuts the door behind me, as if to keep the outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. The brush of fresh air against my cheek does little to dampen the chill in my bones, but now the sensation of fear and disquiet it leaves whenever I see her. It's familiar enough for me. Already has made a home in my nerves. I don't even know a trembling hand until I cross my arms across my chest. Cold from the tips of my fingers seeps through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought to my mind, but I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
Start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise, returning, that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. You can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to? If we're done here, let's go.
My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my annoyance get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles up at the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. A straight face he keeps as I do. He doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, giving me a sign that my assumptions might be right. Doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stump over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lip curling into a slight frown. can almost see the gears turning in his head when he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before Pratsman had waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself more often than not. Any gesture of honesty would only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply cannot summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else.
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
Silence. I can offer him, but whether I believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now. Especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens to a scowl at my mention of the name. For whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
Ooh, choice. What does he mean by that? What does he have to do with this? Care to explain your reason? Care to explain your
Care to explain your reasons?
Ashton went up. Okay. I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match for me, particularly in nights like this. I'm not surprised. It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back, as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and hands closing it tightly into a fist at his side. Then swiftly he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answers he continues to give? Does it include all those times before this, the year's worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand, furious as I am. Frankly, I wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow. And you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away. Short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained at a distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before he climbs inside his car. If the door slams close with the same force as the anchor I'm holding, it sounds merely vanish into the night unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back into the city. Yet even with the city's bright lights smoking us, the dense somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salem. Well, even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of the car park and sure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. Could have driven away purely out of spite the second I've gone off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive. Especially when he still appears as if he hasn't given any.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes it with weary expression, shoots a puzzled glance.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
I'm setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again?
Here we go.
I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course he's still skeptical. It makes one wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures his curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I just can't leave alone, Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's one I can't delve into using means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
Ooh.
No, but this is...
I spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before I can finish, I cut him off with a firm raise in my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Before climbing the stairs, she stops, turned to face me with an expression almost too conflicted.
Are you really sure
What?
that there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go. And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about it, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asks it that nags, coupled with his expression. The whole exchange just feels unsettling. One that doesn't fade, even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that is when it clicks. During the long wait for the professor, one straight thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what, though? For my well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects. Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake, and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
And so we'll end this episode of the letter here. So not quite an hour, close to an hour. I'm happy that it's not over an hour though of recording. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video of the letter. We revisited the party from Hannah's point of view. We had the party from Hannah's point of view. I don't remember if we did it from Zach's point of view. I don't remember. But now we've done it from Rebecca's point of view. So I hope so that's nice. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, subscribe, check out other stuff I've done, and see you next time. Bye bye.